There's a lot of little things, and I think the biggest one has always been don't mix personal and business. I
Mhm,
see that with so many people that are first starting out because it's one of those, "Hey, I have this idea, I'm kinda just testing it.
mhm.
Is it gonna sell? Am I gonna make any money?" And all of a sudden, you have $100,000 of business in your personal account. And while that's great, it just isn't great at the same time because
Mhm.
you need to be able to track your expenses. You need to be able to have a good idea of how your business is doing. And if you're mixing those, you can't get a clear picture.
Mhm.
And this has happened repeatedly over the last couple of months with new clients and then just ones I've had over the last, gosh, my business will be 14 years old this fall, which is crazy.
Congrats, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
I had to look
exciting.
the other day. Somebody asked me, and I was like, I don't remember. And thank goodness for LinkedIn that can remind me.
Yeah.
But I knew it was a long time, but it was fun. But that has been the biggest thing I think is that mixing and going back to a couple of clients that I've worked with this year. That has been an issue, especially now that we have a lot more tools like Venmo, we have PayPal, we
Mhm.
have all of these things that are also linked to personal side, and it's hard not to use those. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that you're not mixing it. Set up a separate Venmo for your business, a separate one, a separate PayPal for your business, all of that, because otherwise we can't get a true picture of how your business is doing. And your CPA will very much appreciate you and love you if you have those already split out for them to make life easy for your taxes.
Absolutely. This is not a side hustle anymore, right? You
No.
have to start thinking like an owner. So
Yeah.
building those foundational pieces are so, so incredible and incredibly important, I should say. So we talk about kind of the every founder wears the four financial hats, right? We've got the bookkeeper, the controller, the CFO, and the CEO. And I wonder when there's like an inflection point, how do you see that the founder is no longer doing those jobs outside support, whether it be from technology or another resource, right? A human resource. How do you have those conversations with that founder?
They can be really tricky, and there's a lot of emotion that gets tied into it as well. As you started this business from the ground up, it's your sweat and tears and anger and happiness, all of that that goes into it. And you get to that point of, hey, this isn't necessarily your role. That's not your expertise. Your expertise is in selling and making sure that your product or service is getting well represented out to your clientele. And sometimes you have to have those really hard conversations. And I've had a lot of those over the years
Yeah.
coming from smaller businesses, especially when they've grown pretty quickly and they're making 10 plus $1 million a year. And the owner who does not have the expertise to be in the financial part
Mhm.
of the business. And this is a lot is yes, you are the founder. Yes, you need to understand your
Mhm.
expenses and what's going into it. But at the end of the day, you don't normally you do not have the skills to be the accountant. You don't have the skills
Yeah.
set to be doing the daily bookkeeping. You do have the skill set to learn and to understand your numbers, and you need to learn that as a check and
Mhm.
balance. But it is not your job to be like, hey, I am out building XYZ of my product and then coming into your accounting department and saying, hey, why is this taking so long? It shouldn't take you long. Well, it's not your area of expertise. And so
Mhm.
a lot of times I've seen that founders don't know what's going on and then they start disgruntling and stirring the pot with their accounting department, and it just causes a lot more problems than it should. And that's usually a really good sign that, yes, you as the founder should be stepping way out of anything to do with finance and let the people you hire that you trust to do their job well can represent your company and give you the numbers that you know you need to have. And
Mhm.
and I'm sure you've probably seen this even in conversations you've had as well. And
Mhm.
it I mean, I had a client, gosh, probably it's been about 8 years ago now, and the owner of the company wanted to be the CEO. And this goes to everybody out there, and this is not like a hit in the throat or anything like that. Like, I'm not trying to like knock you down 50 notches, but a lot of times there are founders that come in and yes, you're really good at selling a product, you cannot run a
Mhm.
company.
Yeah.
And that is nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually something really good because how many people don't have the gift to sell, but they
Mhm.
have the vision to be able to run a company. And it's knowing and understanding that you are not made for that position
Mhm.
and that you need to have somebody in that position. And again, going back to this client that I had years ago, that was the problem. He wanted to create this business. He did a great job creating it, but he had no vision to run the company and say, hey, where are we going? We don't have a plan for where we're going. We're just here. And he's angry. He's taking it out on his
Mhm.
employees because he's not in the right seat. When you're in
Mhm.
the right seat and you're utilizing your skill set, you
Mhm.
are going to show up in such amazing ways that your company is going to start thriving. And that's my biggest thing for founders too is don't chase titles, chase what you're good at, and
Mhm.
people will respect you for what
Mhm.
you're good at, not a stupid title, because at the end of the day, who cares? And probably I'm the one that you really shouldn't ask that because I could
Mhm.
care less about
Oh.
most things like that. I'm like, what a waste of time. I just do the work. I don't need 3 extra initials. And just a little side note on that too. That's why I have an MBA and I should probably be proud that I have one, but I could care less. And so I don't even put it on LinkedIn because I'm like, yeah, I went to school for, another year and a half. Whoop-de-doo is kind of, you were just told to do it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, there's so much good advice wrapped up in there, even outside of the financials. I always say, and I'm a prime example of this. A founder is not a CEO. And you see that in some of the most successful startups. If you go to something like the Inc. 5000 conference and see those companies, the Inc. 5000 list is the 5,000 fastest growing companies here domestically in the States. And the top companies, the top growth, most successful will be on stage at that conference. And every single time you see the founder and the CEO, the
Mhm.
person they brought in to run it. And I mean, I've never really seen a founder be successful CEO because a CEO needs to put things like behaviors, financial standardization, make those really hard decisions. And people like me that are very good at innovating, creating new ideas, but aren't often as skilled at things that really make businesses successful, like a strong financial and operational
Mhm.
standing. And the faster you can admit that without putting your staff through like a complete whiplash of what you're doing, because we've all worked for that founder or that client that has this new idea, and then we all have to pivot hard to what he typically, no offense, is talking about. And that can be a really hard culture to work in as an employee too. So that's a huge piece of that. And when we're looking at some of these questions, Christy, these are such great questions. So thank you so much to the
Yeah.
audience. I
Oh,
think,
one thing I want to add
oh,
really
sure.
quick before we move away from that is just a really good example of always having a team of it's the founder and the CEO. I worked in the music industry for a while. For those of you that don't know, I did a side hustle for about 10 years of photography in the music industry. And you think about how many really successful musicians are out there, but they can't write to save their life. And they
Mhm,
have to have a songwriter in the room to produce that hit for them. And
mhm.
that's very similar